And we're live. Saints fans, welcome back. Welcome back to another week of Saints TV Live. And yeah, how good was the win on the weekend? That was an unbelievable win. Good to have you with us. If you're just tuning in, I guess we'll wait for a couple more people to join. Hope you're all doing well. Max, how are you?
Oh, ecstatic! What a fun weekend we've just had.
Amazing weekend.
I'll never say doubt, but a little bit of a nice surprise on Sunday night or Sunday evening. Getting down there to Marvel and seeing the Saints get up. I don't know, a lot to unpack this week. Very excited.
Yeah, lots of stuff to talk about. Lots of good stuff to talk about, which is a rarity at the St Kilda Football Club. But you know, surprises happen, and certainly Sunday at 4:40 was one of those surprises.
Christmas came early, didn't it?
Yeah, probably about 8-9 months early. Christmas in March, who would have thought?
Yeah. Hopefully the boys surprise us again and give us another win.
Wouldn't that be nice?
All right, we still funneling people in, or do we want to get cracking?
I think we've got some good numbers to get the ball rolling. Yep.
All right, so just as always, Saints, we're going to shout out the Saints TV tipping competition. Not too late to join, as some of you would have heard on the podcast. You're more than welcome to still join. Not sure if you're starting at zero or if you've done your tips last week. It just might bring you into the competition already. But $10 entry, lots of Saints prizes to get up and about with. Should be a fun tip. Should be a fun tipping comp. See if you can beat Jordan or I. I think you got the better of me this week. I think I only got 6. How about you?
Oh, I think I only got 6 as well. Who did I miss? Well, I mean, I didn't tip the draw, obviously.
That was a nice freebie on Thursday night.
That was nice. Yeah, nice to get a 3 points. That was a real 50-50, that one. And nice that neither Richmond or Carlton won at all. It's always good. Didn't get Geelong. Did you tip the Cats or the Pies?
No, I tipped the Cats as well. I can't even remember who I tipped. I think I tipped North Melbourne, which was nice. I tipped all the first-time coaches to get their wins at their respected clubs. But I can't remember who the 3 teams were, except for the Cats obviously lost.
Yeah. Who did I not tip? I didn't tip the Saints, which is clearly a cardinal sin.
Oh, okay. That'd be where you dropped off, because I thought you had 7, and I assumed you tipped the Saints.
Yeah, no, wow. I didn't tip the Saints, and who else did I get wrong?
Unfaithful.
I tipped the Hawks, which was a questionable decision. Yep.
Okay, yeah, I've just pulled mine up. I tipped Brisbane and I tipped the Dogs, so those are my other 2 that I got wrong. Oh well, but 6 is not a bad start for the year. All right, at least that's more than 50%.
It's good, and there's weekly prizes, Saina. So even if you haven't joined straight away, doesn't matter. If you're behind, if you get 9 out of 9 next week or the week after or any week, you're still a lot of great prizes to choose from.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, as you might have heard on the podcast, you still can beat Joycey. He only got 4 or 5 this week, so plenty in it if you want to join from this week onwards. And then just on that, if you haven't listened to the potty already, go give it a listen after we have a chat with you guys this week. I don't know, lots of good stuff that they unpacked, and good times are rolling at the Saints, and even better at Saints TV. So yeah, give the potty a listen, join the tipping comp, and hopefully we take you for a fun ride tonight.
Alrighty, do we want to jump into the big event that happened on Sunday?
The big dance. All right. So just trying to think, how do we want to start this? Do we want to start with who we thought our best on was, or do we just want to go straight into it, go quarter by quarter?
Maybe quarter by quarter, or even just a general. Yeah, let's do quarter by quarter. Why not? Really, sit back and smell the roses.
Yeah, exactly. First quarter, I thought we came out the gates hot. As always in Saints fashion, we let up the first goal, but wasn't really worried because they only kicked 1 goal in the first half by themselves, not assisted by the umpires. I thought who opened the goal scoring for us, was it Higgins? Higgins kicked one out the back. Was that? Yep. I don't know. We looked set up behind the ball, and that really allowed us to explode forward get a lot of good looks. There was one passage of play, I think Cordy marked it down closer to half-back, released the ball to Philippou, kicked it to Caminiti. I think that was the first goal, actually. We looked set up around and behind the ball, which allowed us to go forward a little bit more. And yes, I think as they said on the potty, not something we're very used to at St Kilda. Not a lot of structure with us. It's usually free flow and movement, but I like seeing the structure and a clear game plan going into Sunday's game.
No, I think you 100% agree. I think the zone that we ran, in particular, defensive side of the ball, obviously trademark Rossi, but, it was great to see.
Yep.
And obviously, the zone also, people say, oh, it's a defensive tactic, whatever. But, the zone does lend itself into easier moving forward of the ball. Because, if you're on your own or if you're between two guys, rather than, you got 10 meters either side of you, rather than being, man on man when you're going forward of the ball, it's a lot easier and we're able to, manipulate that space. And that is how we got the first goal. Philippou wasn't man marking, so he was able to find some space in the half-back line and just transition it forward. So it was really good to see that. What were your thoughts on the second quarter?
Well, that was the umpire. That was the quarter of the umpires, wasn't it? That was, three questionable free kicks paid inside their forward 50 that resulted in goals, 2 50-metre penalties that, look, you don't love to see from your captain and vice-captain, but I think in the heat of the moment, you just sort of cop it and move on. I heard Jack Steele's presser after the game. He said Ross Lyon didn't mention it at halftime, which I think is a good thing. I think he was to rip into them that sort of puts their heads down, that makes them play a little bit timid, stuff like that. Might even feed into it a bit more with going at the umpires, just at little mistakes that they make or we make, sort of thing. So I think it was really positive, the response from those 2 50-metre giveaways. And then, we saw Philippou kick his first goal in the second quarter to bring us ahead 34-28 or something like that. What a beautiful set shot does he have?
Absolutely gorgeous. In the words of BT on Friday night, I'm not sure how many of you watched the Pies Cats game, but Gary Rowan was lining up for a set shot, and BT was, what was the phrase he used? He's like, oh, you just want to kiss that, when Gary Rowan was taking the set shot. And that's exactly, if only he was commentating the Saints game, because he would have said the same thing about Mateus there. Yeah, just on the umpires, definitely took Fremantle to a whole nother level. It was good to see. I didn't actually hear Jack Steele's presser after the game, but it's good that Ross didn't call them out at halftime. I think with dissent whether you've messed up, and I think that's really good that he didn't call them out, and they certainly made up for it because Cal Wilkie went home after the game and walked in the front door and emptied his pockets and found his keys, his wallet, and Nat Fife back there. So definitely made up for it in the second half.
Yeah, I think WA police are still trying to find him. He's been reported missing for the whole pre-season. But, sometimes that happens with 2-time Brownlow medalists. They just go missing on their night. Full credit to our back six, though. They were tremendous during this game.
Unbelievable performance. And Ben Patton as well when he came on was very good.
Yes. Yeah, agreed. Look, but that really hasn't changed from last year. The back line really hasn't been impacted too much by injuries. Maybe Nick Caulfield, I think, is really the only major one that we've sort of seen. But yeah, everyone else played their role. Jimmy Webster played the entire game with a broken hand. We'll get into that a little bit later, but broke his hand in the first quarter, got subbed off after getting, I don't know, a pretty gruesome bump that I thought he was knocked out from. But yeah, I think our back six is really, really underrated in the AFL. And you know what? After hearing Kane Cords on SEN on Monday morning, when he's saying Freo's back six is among one of the best, I'm not sure how he's still an AFL analyst. Someone give us some credit, please.
Yep, the volcano. I'm not sure how I think you're right. I'm not sure how he still has a job. Let's go through a couple of fan comments.
Yep.
Muzzy's gone. Didn't the Saints look good on Sunday night? Absolutely, Muzzy. They looked tremendous.
Feels like 2010 again.
Okay, let's not go that far, but it was definitely something worthwhile. Me personally, watching the game from interstate, I was with my friend who barracks at Fremantle, and before the game, she was definitely up and about, talking about how, the Saints are going to get done, we're going to run over the top of them, and just to see her, look on her face, halfway through the fourth quarter, she came to the moment of realization that, we'd done it, and that was really good. I'm sure most of you, or definitely all of you out there, can relate to, sitting with your mate who's an opposition supporter and just, getting the win. You don't want to act too smug about it. I was definitely quiet after the game. But yeah, definitely felt good to get those points. Bet's written in, Filippo, what a great young man to wear the jumper, keen to learn, plays like he loves the game, is unselfish and respectful, team-oriented play, and stands up well in a physical contest, but not arrogant, just fresh and enthusiastic energy. Couldn't agree more, Beth. I think when Filippo, when he was talking pre-draft, how he was a mix of Nat Fyfe and Marcus Bontempelli, I think there's a fine line between arrogance and confidence. And to me, where that line is saying, I'm the best player in the AFL, I'm better than XYZ, I'm better than Bailey Smith, Paddy Cripps, Lachie Neale, Took Miller, whoever. He wasn't saying that. He was just, believing in himself. And I agree that he's a really confident young man and keen to learn as well. That's a really good point. I think, loves the craft and, keen to soak in all the knowledge that Harves and Lenny can give him.
Yeah, no, that's Beth, that's completely spot on. There was multiple times in that game where I'm thinking, if he took a shot right now, if he takes that mark, you know what, give him the keys to the offense, sort of thing. And the one player that lives rent free in my head could have taken a shot from 50, 45 meters out. Instead, kicks it a little bit wider over the top of Hill. Hill doesn't bomb it. Places a beautiful kick to the top of the square. Caminiti. Watching it on watching the replay, it did look like a mark on TV in real life. It wasn't, but yeah, handballs it to Mason Wood, Caminiti, and kicks a goal. Like that was that. I think that summed up his game. Just so unselfish, so footy smart, so footy savvy. Yeah, he's gonna be a Jet with us.
Couldn't agree more. Yeah, I think his unselfishness. Definitely, yeah. I think they mentioned it on the podcast. Could have had 3 or 4 goals easily, but just had the 2, and could even get a Brownlow vote. You reckon? Who was your? Speaking of that, who was your best on? You reckon, or at least like top 3?
So I think if we're doing Brownlow votes, it differs a little bit, but I reckon our best 3 on were Ronnie Burns, Mason Wood, and Cal Wilkie. That's in no particular order. I don't think many people had a bad game, though. So there's going to be a big spread of players. Like Stocker looked terrific in the back half.
He did.
He had 20 touches and a couple tackles. Nasai, Wanglin, Malira, few off kicks, but I think that's what you're just going to expect from him. But his explosiveness off the half back line, something really fresh and exhilarating. Now we've got 2 options to run and launch. I think you can't go wrong with any 3 players you pick for that game. How about you?
I'd go. Well, who was your 3? Was it Burnsy, Wilkie, and
Burns, Wood,
Mason
and Wood? Yeah.
Yeah, so I'd definitely go Mason Wood. I thought he had a brilliant game and was completely very unselfish, which, selfishness I don't think is a big part of Mason's game at all, but it was just a particular note. I thought his kicking is a part of his game. I think he's definitely improved on over the summer. Brilliant entries inside 50.
Beautiful left boot.
Who was it? Woody Sinks, I thought, had a classic Sinks game. I thought he was very good. Yeah. Again, ball movement, like delivering the ball was very good. And I reckon Filippo, had to be up. I reckon he was in our best 3.
Yeah.
In terms of the impact he had, I reckon he was genuinely like top 3. Now, in terms of Brownlow votes, that becomes a bit more tricky. I think you have to give some credit to Brennan Cox and Fremantle's backline generally was exceptional. Yeah, I thought so. Yeah,
yeah. The seagulls down back for Fremantle. I think he took 20 marks. Brennan Cox just chipping it around the back because they couldn't get past the Great Wall of China.
Absolutely. Matt's written in, how bloody good was Brian Burns? Yeah, we've just touched on that, Matt, but He was everywhere. He did not leave my screen as I was watching. Did you notice that, Max? Did you reckon he was all over the ground?
Yeah, there was not a single contested ball or possession where I'm not noticing Ronnie Burns run. He's really taken over that Dan McKenzie role. Between the 50s, he's always on the outside of packs. He's always there for that release handball. He was really impressive. Hopefully he can even keep up 75, 60% of what he did on Sunday, because, yeah, that was thoroughly impressive.
Yeah, and it looks like it'll be consistent because we touched with the Melbourne practice game and the Essendon practice game that he was all over the ground there. So hopefully that's a sign of things to come. Ben's written in, Wilkie All-Australian. Well, I think if he's not All-Australian, Ben, I think we've got to go right on the doorsteps of AFL House.
Yeah,
I think he had a terrific game.
Yeah, agreed. He it'd be a crime if he's not All-Australian if he keeps up this more weeks than not.
Marcus has given his opinion on Mitch Owens, and he's going to be a big star. Really impressive game on the weekend.
Yeah, he had about 18 touches, just got his hands to the ball. I think that's what all our forwards did. That was really refreshing just to see everyone in the forward line compete. There was a few times where he bombed it on top of heads, and that obviously didn't work. But when we're kicking it to a leading forward with Caminiti, even Cordy got his hands to a couple of the ball. Machito Owens, Mason Wood, everyone was just competing just to get their hands to it, bring it to ground, let us Smalls do the work, because that's who was going to try and win us the game, and that's ultimately what happened.
Yeah, really unselfish play there, particularly from the forwards, like you mentioned. And he throws himself at the ball. He's really fearless. He's not scared. Like, he's not, how tall is he? 6 foot, 6'1", but he plays bigger.
I think he's 191 centimeters. He's grown over the 2 years we've had him.
Okay, well, if
he shot up a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, but he was fearless last year, and he's got that extra bravery even more this year because he just throws himself into packs. No regard for his own safety, which is to an extent, with players like Jack Higgins with their concussion history, that's a bit of a concern. But for Mitch, just thoroughly impressed. He and Marcus are going to be, absolute superstars one day. Abby's written in, how was Cordy's tackle at the end? Brilliant. Yeah. I leapt out of my chair, Abby. I knew, I just had the gut feeling that we were going to win the game from there. That was, you could just feel it. Was it like that around the ground, Max, you reckon? Was there a big change in the atmosphere?
Yeah. And look, I was very critical of Cordy being in the team on the Thursday night that it got released. I was critical up until that tackle. And when you put a defender in the forward line, you hope they lay a tackle. What was even better, he slotted the goal. Which I don't even think he expected to kick the goal. He's only kicked 16 or 17 in his career, and that was the first.
I think it was even less than that. I think that was the 12th goal of his career. But unbelievable.
Wowee.
Great game. Great game from Cords.
Relaying it in my head. Great moment.
Just going through some of the other comments.
Yeah, let us know what you think, Saners.
Josh has written in, honestly, I didn't care about the 50s for the descent. Those umpires there need their something eyes checked.
Their bloody eyes checked.
Look, I think they can afford a trip to Specsavers. There's 4 of them. There's 4 of the umpires out in the field now. I think, they should have got that. But, Josh, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter because we won. I do agree with you that Fremantle definitely got some bonus calls. They got 2 or 3. The descent calls, there were 2 goals that directly lead to, 2 free kickers that directly led to goals. And they only kicked 7 for the game. So that was huge.
I'm pretty sure it was more than that. It was...
Yeah, well, the descent ones, Descent
you're talking about
2,
the defense. Yeah.
And then there was definitely
at least one,
2. If not 2 more. Oh, 2? Okay. There was definitely at least 1 more, but that's a big portion of their goals. But, in the end, it doesn't, make a difference because we got the chocolates in the end. You can't Footy's 80% skill, 10% luck, 10% beating the umpires. So, that's,
Yeah.
all you can do, really. You can't control that.
Oh, they
Um,
looked like their own squad of them. How many there was out there? There was like 17. I reckon there was a full team of umpires out there. There was a third team playing in that game. But yeah, as you
yeah,
said, we
they need
won, so
like
it
their
doesn't
own
matter.
banner and they need their own theme song as they run out onto the ground, I reckon. Maybe we'll get some kids in the stand wearing umpire jerseys next week. Who knows?
Yep.
Dan's written in, "G'day lads, keep up the good work." Thanks, Dan. Appreciate that. Just wondering, what was your favourite goal and play of the game? Max, do you want to kick things off?
Well, I'm not going to say the Philippou goal just because that's I don't know. That's going to be everyone's favorite for a long time, I think. But no, I think my favorite one, as the one I said before, Philippou kicks to Hill. Hill kicks it to the top of the square, and Caminiti just competed, got the hands out to Wood, and Wood snaps it over. That was sort of the moment where I knew we were looking in good stead to win the game.
Yeah, I'm not sure about my favourite goal. I think the Cordy one got me out. Well, the tackle was already out of my seat from the tackle, and that was I looked at my Fremantle friend. It was just like, yep, that's when Zane Cordy's making tackles inside 50. That's when the game is done. Definitely my favourite play of the game was the Wilkie run down on Nat Fife. Oh, that was brilliant. A lot of the AFL media has decided to focus on Nat and say, oh, he's cooked and whatever. Nat Fife is a 2-time Brownlow medalist. He's only in his not even early 30s.
I think he's 31. Yeah, he's 31.
30, 31, 32, something like that. And Wilkie was just, I think that really, was indicative of our efforts. They did not give up. They did not give up the whole game, and that's that's all we can ask for. As we're not going to win obviously we're not going to win every week. We're not going to, whether we win 11 games this year, whether we win 5 games this year, whether we win 21 games this season. That's all you can ask for is effort. And Wilkie, winning 21, that'd be a dream. that's all you can ask for, honestly, as Saints fans, for the guys to give effort. And Wilkie's tackle was definitely, exemplified that that what we're after. All right, Reese, got to say that guys like Hill, Burns, Caminiti, Wood, and those sorts look like they're playing with more freedom. Yeah, I think that was because of the zone. Defensive structures, good defense leads to better offense.
Yeah.
So, they were given more free reign, whether that was just because of the zone, that's my hunch, or whether Ross talked about, running with the footy more. That's, it did seem like that, Race. I've got to agree with you. Max, what do you reckon?
Yeah, I think, the 3 of the 4 players you've just named then are known for running. And as you said before, Jordan, if you've got that 5 meters extra space in between a defender when the ball's turned over, you can sort of turn on the jets and take a little bit more of a risk going into the corridor. And we saw, the 3 players there. Caminiti even sort of ventured out into the forward flank area, the middle of the ground. But yeah, Nasiah, Wood, Crouch even was running. Like, there was a lot of guys just attacking the play. Philippou coming out of a high half flank was attacking the play, and that's all because of the zone. When you got that 5 meters extra space to run, then I think that only suits our team.
I think that's a really good point there. We're going to answer Beth's. We're going to respond to Beth's comment, and then just after that, we're going to head into some fan cams. A couple of people waiting to get on the show. Make sure to click the link, Sainers, if you want to get on, get involved, ask us some questions directly, or you can keep feeding in comments, whatever you prefer. Beth's written, Bresh getting mixed reviews. I love him and reckon he's an instinct player, not great at set shots or mark and hold it up footy. I mean, who at the Saints is good at set shots? Come on, let's be real. But highly skilled during fast play patches. How do you reckon Ross, Harves, and Lenny get the best out of him? Yeah, I agree, Beth. I'm not sure that Gresh, a lot of people seem to, criticise him about being selfish or, his ball delivery inside 50. I don't think, apart from Mason Wood Jack Sinclair and a couple other guys. I thought our delivery inside 50 wasn't particularly great on the weekend. I think he's a bit of a scapegoat there. He was really hunting the ball and was moving the ball well. I don't know. To me personally, I didn't think he had that bad of a game, but it seems to be he's a bit of a scapegoat. Max, what's your opinion on Gresh?
No, I don't think he had a bad game. There was a couple plays where you sort of think that he was the senior player and he knew he was the senior player, so it sort of gave him a right to take a shot at goal or to not do the unselfish thing and give the hands off. Look, I think that's just sort of what you get, though. The only play that sort of really stuck with me that I sort of noticed was Mason Wood and Higo were streaming into the goal line, and instead Gresh took a shot, just turned around and snapped it. It probably should have been a kick just to Mason Wood or Higgins, but you know what? If it's one play a game or two plays a game where he's sort of just having a crack at it, playing a little bit selfish, you know what? That's two extra chances you've got at a goal from Gresh. So you know what? I think you're right, Jordan. He was a bit of a scapegoat over the weekend, but look, you can't be too critical of a win. So no, I'm enjoying how he's playing right now.
Yeah, and decision making inside 50 is not a particular great strength of ours. No. I mean, there was one. Dan Butler, was it in the first quarter? He, I think he could have passed it to Higgins or something. Took a shot, and it was right on the goal line that Brennan Cox marked it. I mean, that was questionable. Yeah. Not to throw Butler under the bus. And Hill inside 50. You mentioned that the pass from Mateus. Brad definitely could have gone to goal and should have gone to goal instead of passing it to the top of the square. He was on his own. I'm not trying to single out Bradley Hill or Dan Butler by any means, but, decision making inside 50 is something we can all work on. And I think Gresh is copping a little bit of unfair criticism. But, as we say, take our opinions with a grain of salt. The great thing about, Saints TV is that everyone can have their own opinion and everyone, gets to have their view. And speaking of such, we're going to invite a fan to come on and join us now.
Excited.
Natalie, welcome to the stream.
Hello, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good, thanks.
What's your question for us?
Well, I guess I'd say, where do you think that we're heading, considering how we played on the weekend?
The flag.
Oh.
Gold.
Max, what do you reckon? Where do you see us going from here?
Well, when we were third on the list for a few years ago, and then all of a sudden, after about 10 rounds, we dropped down to 10th or something. I can't remember off the top of my head. It was a while ago, but we had a pretty good start like we've had this year, and then all of a sudden we just dropped down to nothing. So
yeah, I think that was 2018.
Yeah,
I think it was 19. Was it 19? I thought.
It was 19 or 20.
One of those.
It was one of them right before COVID. Look, honestly, I think we need a couple more rounds to gauge. But look, I think the structure, it was a good system that we've sort of set. And when we get reinforcements, we need to make sure that structure behind the ball that Ross is implementing, I think stays up. But you know what, I think the way we're playing, finals isn't off the card. But I think a few more rounds we'll really see how we go against some of the better teams in the comp.
I think we've got to see how the new players progress and whether they can maintain a standard, throughout the whole year, because it's quite a long year, quite a long season. And, they might start off with a bang and then all of a sudden fizzle out towards the end of the season. So the young players that we've got, I think, are going to have a bit of a test.
Yeah, couldn't agree with you more.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see how the young guys go against teams like Carlton and Collingwood. As much as it pains me to say, that they are where we should be at the moment in terms of where, they've built up their young guys and where they're progressing. They're both heading towards the top four and they're both very physical in the middle and the forward parts of the ground. So it'll be interesting to see how guys like Wangani Malera, Filippo and Windy and Machito Owens go against those teams. Hopefully they don't fizzle out like you mentioned. Hope they continue the way they played on the weekend, because if they play like that for 23 rounds, we should be pretty good.
Yeah, they're all pretty good. Well, the only match we've seen so far, so hopefully they'll keep it up.
Hopefully, go the Sainers.
Keep our fingers crossed.
Keep our fingers crossed. Yeah, exactly right. Thank you, Natalie.
Thanks.
Thanks, Natalie. Have a good one.
Thanks. You too.
See ya. Yeah, feel free to keep jumping on, Sainers. We'll get through all of you in a minute. Great to chat with Natalie there. Asked a good question about us fizzling out and about, where we think we're going this season. A flag would be nice, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Jeez, wouldn't that be the most romantic story in all of sports? Ross Lyon comes back in the 150th year and the Saints get up around a flag. No, don't stop tempting me. We're going to get too excited.
Yeah. Well, if we win this year, I think Hollywood needs to make some inquiries into the copyright Kilda Football Club. And maybe, we can even get, who would you like to be played in a, who would you, what's the words I'm looking for? Who would you like to play you characters? Who would you like to play you in a Hollywood movie?
Oh.
Representing your role as, important fan of Saints TV.
I think Tom Holland would be pretty cool.
Yeah,
how about you?
I reckon I'd love Eric Banner. Just obviously because he's the Saints' #1 ticket holder. I think that'd be quite cool.
Yeah, you sure it's not Blake Acres? You wouldn't want Blake Acres, as Lockie says, repeating from last week?
Yeah, I think Blake might be a bit busy at that time. I think he might be playing, focusing on dropping marks just outside the forward 50 at the end of games. But yeah, I think Blake would, be a good choice. Given he, according to Lockie, looks a bit like me. Ed's written in, looks to me, players will run themselves into the ground for Ross. Yes.
Yeah, I would.
Well,
I'd run through a brick wall for that man. I'd run through a brick wall from that man, and I'm not even playing the game.
Yeah,
I'll do whatever it takes for this to win.
Yeah, well, hopefully the players have the same attitude as you, Max, and it definitely seems like they're willing to put an arm and a leg, especially in Vitel's case, a knee out for Rossi. Just switching gears for a second. Would you make any changes to the side next week in terms of, the game against the Doggies?
Yeah, so transitioning to the Doggies game. Look, so obviously Webster and Vitel come out because they're both injured. I think Patton just is a straight spot for Webster. Hearing things that Windhager could be back and ready for round 2, and if that's the case, you just plug what's the word I'm looking for? Plug him in into the guts. Yep. Plug him into the guts. I think maybe Butler starts as the sub this week. So I think you take him off the ground. I'm not sure. I think we actually did quite all right with our selection. The only one I'm sort of tossing up between is Cordy. Maybe take him out for Tom Campbell, because I think Rowan Marshall did unbelievably well against the probably second best ruck duo in the comp. There was times where I think we needed him forward a little bit, and I hate to say that because I think he should be rucking full time all the time. But when you think we're going up against Tim English and is Steph Martin still playing? Because I know Rory Lobb's injured. Like, who knows who's going up? And yeah. So Rory Lobb's injured. Like, maybe we just keep him in and say Cordy can get the gig again. But I don't know. I wouldn't mind seeing Tom Campbell in there just as a bit of insurance for when times get tough in the forward line. We've got a genuine target to kick to in Rowan Marshall. But yeah, I'm not sure. I think we sort of leave as is. Just Butler becomes the Medi sub, Patton on the field and Windhager on the field for Webster and Vitel. How about you?
Yeah, I tend to agree. Obviously, you put Windhager straight back in the team. You've got Webster and Vitel coming out. Not sure what to do about Dan Butler. We'll have to wait and see, what Ross does with that. I'm personally a bit on the fence about whether, to put him as the sub to give him a game. Unsure at the moment if Seb Ross comes back in. He's still a test what the latest update that we have is that he's still a test for round 1. So, fingers crossed that he's available and at Ross Lyon's disposal, not at his own disposal.
Yep.
You mentioned Tom Campbell. I think Liam Jones is also a test for the Dogs, and I think personally
he is. Yes,
I'd say it's more personnel. It's more on the Dogs' end that we're waiting for. Well, that's what I would wait for to make my decision. I think if we reckon Liam Jones is going to play, then have Rowan Marshall and Tom Campbell up for Rowe can drift forward. Because apart from Liam Jones, the Dogs don't really have any tall forward options. They've got, they've plugged Josh Bruce back there. Obviously, we know about the tall forwards that they have a plethora of. But in terms of what's available to them, well, wouldn't that be nice to have what they have up forward, especially our injury crisis at the moment?
Oh my goodness.
In terms of tall defenders, apart from Josh Bruce, who's not even a tall defender, they don't really have any tall backmen.
Is Josh Bruce even playing in the back line, or is he sitting?
I think he is.
Sitting at the moment?
He played last week. No, well, I did watch the game on Saturday night against the D's, and fortunately the Doggies didn't look too good. Knock on wood that continues. But yeah, I'm not sure if Tom comes into the team. The question is, you mentioned Zane Cordy. Zane versus Cooper Sharman. I think we were both a bit surprised not to see the Sharmanator named on Thursday night. I'm not sure what the deal is there behind the scenes. Maybe he hasn't performed to Ross's expectations or something. But I think Zane keeps his spot in the team, given it's his return game against the Doggies. I think players always have a bit of extra incentive to do well against their former team. So for me, I think Cords keeps his spot.
Yeah, so just on that, I think that was the right decision to leave Sharman out of the team. I know you and I both wanted to see him in round 1, but look, the way we were structured in our forward 50, it made sense. We've got Caminiti, who's a young body who her only job was to do was just compete and get hands to the ball. You had Machida Owens, who was roaming around everywhere. Mason Wood came into the forward line for the fourth quarter. I think just Zane Cordy having that mature body, bit of a battering ram, can take a few more hits, can go to a few more contests. That doesn't really matter what the outcome of it is, just so long as the big body's there. I think that's why we chose Cordy over Sharman for round 1, and it worked. I reluctantly say works because I want to see how he does it against
round 1 at least. Yeah,
I want to see how he does it moving forward. But yes, it worked this week. Who knows if that's sustainable or not, but hopefully we've got some options, and Ross is not afraid to move the magnets around if times get tough.
Yep, Yasser's written in. They've got. I forgot about Alex. Yeah, good point, Yasser. They have got Alex Keith. Yep. Okay, so maybe we do chuck Tom Campbell in. I think that is a good point.
Maybe.
Completely forgot about him. We're going to invite another fan to join us. Abby,
fun.
Welcome to the stream.
Thank you very much for having me.
How are you?
Good. How are you guys?
Living the dream. Wouldn't want to be anywhere else on a Tuesday
after
night.
A win this week. Well, I was going to ask actually who you were going to put in this week, but you just covered that, so you kind of stole my question. But I was going to ask about the culture of the club and how you think Harves and Lenny, having them back, and Ross, how you reckon that's changed the culture of the club, and maybe the players' passion, whether it's giving them a bit of fire in their belly, and how you think that's probably changed the club, I guess.
I think my favourite moment was seeing that fourth quarter. What's his name? Ross Lyon going up, shaking Harvey's hand, shaking Lenny's, and shaking Corey Enright's hand. That was it. Just looked like job well done to me. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I think having every legend back at the club, and that's the one thing we've been praised for this off season. The media have really liked our coaching staff, getting Goddard as taking over those under 22-year-olds, really helping them. Oh, Vin, go away, mate. Vin's a Tigers fan. He can get lost. No, I'm No, I thoroughly enjoy the acquisitions of our coaching lineup, and I think that's probably the most underrated thing we've done in the tenure of our since Ross Lyon departed the first time.
Agreed.
How about you, Jordan?
Thanks, Robert's on the radio.
Oh, looks like we've got Natalie back on. Natalie, what are your thoughts? I'm not sure if you heard the last question.
Yeah, I think it helps to have players back at the club who knew what it was like to win. I think that's sort of been something that's been a bit lacking in the last couple of years, because the players have been a bit less experienced and haven't had that winning sort of feeling and know what that's like. So having people like Lenny Hayes back again, I think will sort of maybe give the guys a few tips on, how to win this game and not just play it. So it's, I think they've got a lot of knowledge that they can impart to the younger players probably. And so it'll be interesting to see how it plays out over the season. I think I could tell a difference even at the start of the match, that it was different compared to the beginning of last season, just by the way they were playing. So I wonder if that's sort of an indication of how the season's going to progress.
Yeah, I think having coaches as well, that Corey Enright obviously won a couple premierships, but having coaches that got so close and know the heartbreak and know the sort of how it feels to come so close to winning a premiership. Also, yeah, as Abby said, lights that belly under all the players, and they feel inspired by it. They want to do the coaches proud. They want to carry on that legacy that's been missing since 1966. So yeah, no, I think it's really, really good to have old legends back at the club, especially ones that are so footy savvy compared to some of the other ex-players that have turned coaches.
Yeah.
I just saw someone comment about G-Train. I am so on board with that. He was my favourite player as a kid. So definitely think they need some set shot kicking coaching. So I think G-Train would be elite for that. 100%.
I think the G-Train could also give them some tips on how to, stuff as many pies as they can at halftime.
I thought he would have been good for the 50%. I thought he would have been good for teaching everyone how to use the 50-meter descent rule properly.
No, I 100% agree with that. But yeah, cool.
Awesome. Thank you, Abby.
Yeah, I hope they learned a bit from those 50s the other day. The descent rule. I hope that sticks with them, because you don't want that happening too often.
No.
Because it's a good way of losing matches. And when it gets towards the end of the season, that could be a real problem if they don't sort of learn to shut their mouths.
Can't blame the umpires for everything.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. Carlton missed finals by, a solitary point. So, a 50-meter penalty could have a big impact on whether we make the top 8 or not. I think that's a good point, Natalie.
Awesome.
All righty. Well, good to have you on, Natalie. Good to have you on, Abby.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
So,
all righty. So that was good.
Keep filtering some questions, Saners. We'll try and get around to everyone. This is a show for you guys just as well as it is for us to make.
Yeah, I think it's even more about the fans than for us to make. It's definitely about the whole gist of Saints TV Live. Yep, keep filtering questions, Sainers. Brett's written in the whole essay. That's over the whole screen.
Hey, Beth, Jordan, I can't see you.
Oh, how do I fix this? No, that's not it. No, that's also not it.
Just read it out. We'll
have a fiddle around. Beth, can you do my law essay for me that's coming up? I'm only joking. I would never, get someone else to do it. That's written in. Good call, Abby. I think the former players and Ross are unapologetically St Kilda, emotionally invested 100%, and then we are accepting that we are an emotion harnessing, not clinical and calculated, and play on passion. If/when it comes off, it will just be a pure heart win. I think we're now recruiting players who invest in our club wholeheartedly.
Oh.
That's a really good point. It seems like we've got, players in who, like Jack Higgins, who was a lifelong Saints fan. They touched on the podcast towards the end of the last season. I'm sure that having Lenny Hayes and Robert Harvey, who were definitely his childhood heroes, back at the club, I'm sure he wants to really impress for them. And I'm sure there's a bunch of other guys in that boat as well. Maxie King was obviously a big Saints fan growing up.
Liam Stocker, Zach Jones, Marcus Windhager, there's a lot of Saints people around the club, and I think that's what's really really a point of difference between our club and many others. You can't say that that's the same camaraderie, and there's not a lot of let's say Essendon people at the Essendon Football Club. There's not a lot of, I don't know, West Coast people at West Coast sort of thing. I think that's a real point of difference. There's a lot of Saints people at St Kilda, and it's really fun to see.
I think West Coast, there might be a few people, West Coast supporters. But definitely in terms of the Victorian clubs and at GWS and the Gold Coast, probably not a lot of, a lot of lifelong fans of their club. So definitely a point of difference. And the thing about that is, even if, you've got guys at Collingwood or at Richmond or at Carlton who grew up fans of those clubs, their history is built on the back of premierships. Ours is built on the back of some other stuff, not premierships. Whatever you want to say about the Saints, it's obviously, we don't have a proud history of premierships, but, you obviously love the club for a reason. And, I don't know what I'm really trying to say here, but my point is that you love the club for a reason. And that you must love it enough more than just, in it for the success. You must really, really, deep down, really want the club to do well. And because we don't have those premierships, you want to finally deliver a flag to St Kilda. Hopefully I got my point across. I'm not really sure what my point was.
It's a fans club. It's not it's not a club in the business to make money. It's not a club that's in the business, I don't know, to lure in these, $1 million recruits. It's the gritty AFL players. It's the gritty fans. It's sort of those white collared supporters are at the Saints. I think that's maybe what you're trying to say. Maybe a little bit.
To be honest, I'm not really sure what I'm trying to say. Did you say white collared workers?
Do I just say next question now because we're getting a little bit?
Well, I was going to say white-collared workers. Definitely Sandringham and Bayside. But let's move on.
You know what I mean.
Reese has written in, here's one. If the Hollywood sports movie style... that's a good question, Reese. The Hollywood sports movie style scenario happens and we do win the flag this year. Who are the top 3 opponents you'd like us to beat? I have a top 3 immediately in mind, so I'm going to let Matt take the question first. And he's probably going to steal all the time.
I think we've got the same too. It's just, I think it matters what order it's in. For me, look, I'll start at the grand final. For me personally, I'd love to win against Collingwood in the grand final, just because we had 2 chances to do it against them. I know the Cats, we've got this massive rivalry with them, but Collingwood, especially with Ross Lyon at the helm, I want to beat them in the grand final. And the round before, I'd like to beat Geelong. Third team. Ooh.
Or you could make it 4 if we come from, the bottom half of the top 8.
I'd like to see us beat someone like Carlton. I'm just not a big fan of that club. Not for any Saints reasons, but I think just because I don't like Carlton. And then I'd say the first team, let's say Adelaide make the 8 because they were the last team we lost to in the grand final. Prior to 2009 and 10, that was 1997. We lost to the Crows. So I think we got 3 of those 4 clubs. I'd be pretty happy. Wow, that would be a really good fairy tale.
Yep. I was definitely right in my prediction that you'd take all my answers.
Were you Carlton as well?
I was going to say Collingwood in the grand final and Geelong in the prelim. That would be unbelievable. in terms of beating an elimination final, would not mind beating the Blues.
Yep.
My Saints-related reason that their fans are, in my opinion, the most insufferable in the league. And another club I'd like to beat, I wouldn't mind knocking off Richmond or the Dons. That would be quite good. Another big Victorian club. I think Adelaide probably a bit too. Well, it's not even in our lifetime that it happens.
No, but I mean, no, I'm thinking from the club perspective.
Reece, to answer your question, it seems consensus here is Carlton, Collingwood, and Geelong. And in any order, I'll take that because I think a Saints premiership is something you can't be too pick and choosy about.
Except for just the 3 teams we want to beat.
Oh yeah. If I could have the choice, Reece, I would love to beat Carlton, Geelong, and Collingwood, but I'll take any premiership, even if it's Gold Coast, the Giants, and Fremantle. Dale's written in, St Kilda should go after Mitch Georgiades. He is out of contract. He can help King and Membry out.
Oh, that's a great call, actually. I think that's a fantastic call.
I'd love to have him.
I don't know if he wants to come down here, but yes, go after him. Why not?
Good
it already
shout,
looks like Sauce is already scouting out Tom de Koning as a secondary ruck, and Georgiades looks like he looks legit. He looks like he's everything that he was hyped up to be, and I think a little bit more space in the forward line that allows him to have a little bit more free roaming, then that can only do wonders for him. So yeah, why not? Why don't we target him?
Yeah, I reckon that's a great shout, Dale. I'd love Georgiades to come down to RSEA Park. Not sure whether we can afford him with the salary cap or whether he wants to, but we'll certainly take him. Naga's written in, do you think James Van Ez will debut at some stage this season? It looks really promising with good hands and has great mobility. I've noticed on the Saints Instagram page there's a big James Ez fan. Someone keeps asking when James Van Ez is going to debut. I'm not sure whether that's his alias, also affiliated with Naga. Wouldn't mind seeing him debut. I thought he looked pretty good at the Saints Open Day. Love his mullet flying around. Obviously looks similar to Jack Sinclair in that regard. Another tall, wouldn't go astray. Is he a key defender, is he?
Yeah. I think he's about 195 from memory. I think he gets a shot this season. Maybe we manage Cal Wilkie, maybe we manage Dougal Howard, Josh Battle, one of those 3, either get a little niggle or we have to manage them throughout the season. I think Van Ness could maybe come in for a game or 2. Absolutely. Why not? I do see him debuting this season.
Yeah, but hopefully he debuts out of, he plays well at Sandringham and not, we've got 25 people in the St Kilda Hospital, which is the problem, which is a problem at the moment, obviously. Go through a couple more comments. Neil's written in, it's great to see the boys tackling like Lenny. Agree, Neil. I thought they were very aggressive in a good way on the weekend. In terms of physicality.
I want to see Jack Steele. Who are we playing against this week? Dogs. I want to see someone like Bailey Smith or Cody Waitman try and sidestep Jack Steele, wrap him up. Jack Steele wraps him up in a bear hug, similar to how Lenny did against Melbourne, inside our forward 50. And Jack Stephen salutes, as the commentators called. I'd love to see something like that this week. That'd be pinnacle for me.
I would love to see Zane Cordy slam Bailey Smith into the ground. Obviously not head first, because then he would get, it'd get pinged for a couple of weeks, unless you're wearing a Melbourne or a Sydney jumper, it tends to be that way. Slams Bailey Smith into the ground, a bag falls out of his pocket as he's doing it.
We're getting way too carried away.
A bit silly here, but no, Zane Cordy, I'd love to see him just smash one of the Bulldogs guys straight into the ground. But anyway, back to your point, Neil. It is good to see the boys tackling really well and showing a lot of heart and soul out in the field.
We got a little bit sidetracked from that one.
Yeah. Abby's back. Josh Battle was super solid this week in the back line. Love to see him down back. I thought he did have a good game. I agree, Abby.
Yeah. Yeah, enough said. Sorry. Yeah, agree. Sorry. Yeah, no, I agree. Josh Battle really stepped up, and as the boys said on the podcast, no chance we swing him down forward. He looks like a centre half back for sure. Really supported Howard and Wilkie as that sort of three main key defenders.
Dale's written in again. Good to have. Dale, you've given some good contributions tonight. Appreciate that, mate. St Kilda should have a St Kilda legend at the Essendon game. I agree. We should have Jake Bertoni lifted down, the Godfather lifted down and dropped. Obviously, not dropped, so to speak, but lifted down from the heavens in a hot air balloon and come down the middle of the MCG. Everyone's cheering his name. Everyone's cheering the Godfather as he's a St Kilda legend. But it would be nice to see, like how I thought Essendon did their 150th quite well in terms of, having guys like Tim Watson, James Hurd, Gavin Wanganeen, Michael Long.
Danaher brothers.
Yeah, that was good. It'd be nice to see. Obviously, you've got half the St Kilda legends on the coaching ranks at the moment. You've obviously got Jason Blake on the St Kilda board. But yeah, hopefully they can fly. I hope Nick Rewalt can fly over from the States to watch the game. Surely he wants to come over and watch the 150th. He bleeds red, black, and white.
Just on that, Jordan, who's your most excited player for round 3? Who are you most excited to see walk out of the crowd as a legend for the Saints?
I wouldn't mind seeing a bit before my time, but I think it'd be really fitting if Nicky Winmar came and walked out, especially, there at the moment. I think it's the great initiative the Saints are doing with the gift exchange at the start of the game. Brad Hill again walked up with Jack Steele to give the gift to Brennan Cox. Not Brennan Cox, Alex Pearce at the start of the game. I think that'd be really fitting. If he's even the one doing the gift giving, I think that'd be quite cool to see him walk out. What about you, Max? Who's your?
I'd love to see Zach Dawson.
Yeah, maybe Robert Eddie walks out there.
Maybe Clinton Jones. They're all sort of side by side.
Maybe Farron Ray starts walking behind the line. All right, we're getting a bit carried away. They're Sainers, but yeah.
Yeah. No, genuinely, I'd love to see Fraser Garrick, and I hope he's like, I don't know, in his street clothes, pie in hand, beer in the other, and he just walks out just sort of steps up. He's hiding in the crowd. He just steps up. Spotlight shines on him. That's my fantasy.
All right. Well, we're getting close to the end here, Sainers, but we're going to have another fan on. We've got Shannon waiting. Shannon, can you hear us? You're on. Okay. It appears Shannon's having some technical issues, but keep trying, and we'd love to have more Saints fans on. So don't forget to click the link that Jake's posted, and feel free to join the stream. We don't bite, I promise. Let's have some more. Let's see some more comments. Dale again, St Kilda need to sign Philippo up now. I completely agree. We saw Harry Sheasel, obviously, in 2 more years at North. Sign Philippo up for 20 years.
Yeah, let us know your thoughts, Sainers, comments, questions, queries. This is a show for you guys. Keep sending your comments through.
Zach Dawson, St Kilda backline coach. That's a good shout.
Yep. Mate, he knows how to get picked every week, doesn't he? He knows what to do at trainings.
To be fair, in all seriousness, I don't think there's, I think that's not if he was our backline coach, it's not obviously he's not Corey Enright, but it's, I think there's worse people that could be selected for that role.
Agreed. Very much agreed.
All right.
Might pose a question to you, Jordan. Oh, sorry.
I'm just going through some of the earlier comments.
You're all right.
How's your umpiring going, Max? Umpire shouldn't back. Max, what are you doing? Are you an umpire, it seems?
Yeah, basketball umpire. But no, I'm allowed to get frustrated just like everyone else. And I'm allowed to yell at the footy. So long as it stays at the footy and it doesn't come home with me. So, yeah.
And hopefully no colourful language was used while screaming at the footy.
No, couldn't use profanity with my dad sitting right next to me. Could never.
No, that would be in very poor taste. I think this is in regards to Filippo. Bet's written in Price may be on the rise by the end of the week. His manager may hold out. I think that's probably a smart move for his manager to hold out. Because it probably what's he worth now? Like $10 million a year. Probably worth $150 million by the end of the season.
You throw ANZ Bank at him. You throw ANZ Bank at him, wouldn't you?
We'll throw all the money we can at him, and hopefully, hopefully the Saints win the Sunrise Cash Cow one morning, get a bit of extra money in there, money in the till to throw up Filippo. Right. But yeah, I agree. His value's going up. I think has his Super Coach or AFL Fantasy gone up? Surely it's gone up this week.
Yeah, 3 rounds for Super Coach and then prices rise. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not a big fantasy player. I can't stand it, but I love playing Super Coach. I don't know how that works, but yeah, we'll wait 2 more weeks and wait for him to his price to go up.
All right, Reese is reading. Sorry?
I knew you'd pick the second I saw this comment. I knew you'd pick this one.
Has Cooper Grech challenged you guys to a goal-kicking challenge like Jake? Reese, not yet, mate. Coops, if you're watching it, Scoops, I'd love to hear from you. Let's get something in the works. Obviously, you're a diehard St Kilda fan. Show your passion and your love for guys like Jack Billings and Tim Membry every week. Obviously a big personality in the AFL media industry. You're a big name, so let's get something happening. Scoops, reach out.
Can't get too ahead of ourselves. We are only on our 3rd appearance. We've only done the stripes, 3 times.
Alrighty. Well, we're getting near the end, Sainers. Maybe a couple more comments.
Yeah.
Roll in. Final thoughts.
Sainers, give us some predictions for the doggies. Things you'll think will go well. Things you think we need to improve on. Potential ins and outs. We might just wrap up. Yeah, with some predictions on the doggies game. Love to hear from you guys.
Dale's written in, not Bulldogs related, but bring back Jamie Cripps. Is he even still playing? Is he still getting a game?
He was there. I'm not sure if he did anything. I was too busy watching LDU and Cheezels,
Oh, how good was Harry?
Did you see all the North fans with the Cheezel packets, and he was signing Cheezel packets?
Yeah, I did see that. That was
was awesome. I love that.
Cheezel packets are going to go through. Sales are going to go through the roof now that he's re-signed at North. Oh, I think he played an excellent game, and obviously disappointed that we didn't. Obviously we have a star in Philippou, but it would have been nice to get Big Harry down, and when his contract's up at North, hopefully he comes over to us.
Yeah, exactly right. We'll poach him.
Neil reckons Saints by 25 over the Dogs. Good shout, Neil.
Big call.
Just over the big win little win line at Sportsbet,
Let's go into some predictions, Jordan. Obviously the last 2 times we've played the doggies got blown out in horrible fashion. What do you think changes about this game? Ross Lyon, we've spoken about the press, we've spoken about our defensive tactics. We're almost parking the bus a little bit if we're referencing FIFA tactics. But how do you think that now impacts the Dogs usually kicking big scores against us?
Well, I think the main difference now is Ross Lyon. Brett Ratton last year, that was a big turning point in the season. I really felt was the fact that we were pretty lucky in the first half, or at least the first quarter, if not the first half of the Dogs game, where they didn't really hit the scoreboard as much as they should have. They missed a couple easy goals. So we were still in the game, but he just refused to make any sort of changes, or even if he didn't, the message didn't get through to the players. So I think the coaching, Ross Lyon is by far a more tactically advanced coach than Luke Beveridge. And that should be something, to keep an eye on, how he moves the magnets around. And that's something that's very important. And just on what I was going to mention, similar to what Reese has written in, something to watch is being cleaner with our hands. I think the Doggies are typically, guys like Bontempelli, Liberatore, Jack McRae, Bailey Smith. They're a really skilled team in terms of their ball usage. So I think if we improve on that regard, I think we should be all right.
Yeah, 100% agree. The more we try and play through the middle of the ground, yes, it's more risk. Yes, it's a little bit more scary playing through the middle of the ground, but ultimately it's the biggest benefit. That's what gets you the easiest entries inside 50, and that's what provides. The forwards both can lead forward, left, and right, as opposed to hugging the boundary line and hoping that the ball gets sort of taken over instead of marked. But yeah, I think the more we can get into the corridor, run out of our zone, just get the ball up and ahead of runners. I think that will be the best way we've got to beat the Doggies, because they're a big team. You've got Tim English, you've got Darcy, Ugle-Hagan, Aaron Norton, Liam Jones if he plays, Alex Keith. Like, there's a lot of big boys in that team, but not a lot of fast runners. So hopefully that's our point of difference against the Dogs.
And just last one before we end it there, Sainers. Beth's written in, do you two have pets with Saint-inspired names?
Oh, I wish.
maybe for my next one, Beth, maybe I'll... I know that when I first... when I got my dog, Lenny was definitely up there in consideration as a potential name, but unfortunately didn't end up rocking with the Saints-inspired name, but we'll see at some point in the future. All right. Thanks for joining us, Sainers. Max, pleasure as always.
As always.
What's your prediction? Give me a score prediction.
Score prediction, hopefully another low-scoring game, I think, until we get those reinforcements in. Every game needs to be, in and around 10 to 12 goals. Not in terms of that be the margin of winning and losing. That just be the margin of total points scored. Prediction, I reckon, Saints 75 points, Bulldogs 68. I reckon we just get over the line against the Dogs, and it'll be a big heroic effort in the fourth quarter.
I reckon a bit more high scoring than last game. I'm going to go 89, St Kilda 89, Dogs 88, and Caminiti kicks a goal to win it after the siren.
Ooh,
that would be a great
juicy. Wouldn't that be juicy?
But yeah, hopefully at 1 point win. That'd be nice. I'll also be watching it with another mate of mine who goes for the Bulldogs, so it'll be good to get the chocolates over them, and also for me subsequently to have bragging rights. At least for the remainder of the year, because we don't play the Bulldogs again, so that's nice.
That would be nice.
We'll leave it there, Sainers. Thanks for tuning in. Have a good one. Subscribe to Saints TV. Make sure to join the Saints tipping comp. Get around the podcast. Good episode this week. As always, it's a great episode.
Always a great episode. Yeah. Awesome. Thank you, Sainers. I know this was a little bit different to our regular Wednesday, but hopefully a few of you were able to join in that otherwise wouldn't usually. So awesome to see you guys here.
Yep. Just a note about that, we will be at this time on next week. But after that, we will be back to our regular scheduled time of 8:30 on Wednesdays. All right. See you then, Sainers. Take care.
Awesome. See you guys.